Hi, today I have a beginner Pilates workout for you. We're going to get started on the mat, flat on our back, and you don't need any equipment. So we'll start flat on our back, and then feet can just bend in to hook lying position. So about heels underneath the knees or a few inches away from your glutes. And then we're just going to wake up the core a little bit with some pelvic tilts. So just tilting one direction, then the other. And you can start to focus in on your breath if that's your thing. But the most important thing is to just keep breathing. So you're going to feel like you're arching your back. And then as you flatten your back, feel like you're drawing your belly button down toward your spine. You're bringing your hips and your ribs a little closer together. And this should feel like a little bit of work right now, engaging the transverse abdominals. 3 more. And then we're going to find neutral. 2. Last one, hold. So you want to feel engaged, but you don't have to feel like you're gluing your back flat to the mat. For this next one, I like to keep hands on my belly because you want to still feel like you're holding still there. So we're going to start by lifting the right knee up to tabletop and then slowly lower, set the foot back down. Left leg lifts, knee to tabletop, and foot back down. If you have a hard time telling tabletop, you could always take 2 fingers into your hip crease. If you start to cover it up, that means you've gone a little too far in. And the whole time, that core is staying nice and tight. If you're feeling good, you're not feeling a ton of movement, you can always ditch the arms, let them just come to the sides. You could even raise them up to the ceiling. We're going to go for 3 more. And just breath steady unless you want to focus on that exhale, tightening up a little more. Last one. And then just let it go for a second. When you let it go, you should feel that release in the low back. Maybe take a little rock of the knees side to side. And then from here, we're going to bring both knees up into a tabletop. So first, find that little scoop tuck. And then we're going to bring the knees to tabletop. Again, you can always check a mirror, or you can always take hands into the hip creases. Head is going to stay down on this one. We're going to take both hands onto your left thigh. You want to be a few inches beneath the knees. And then if you look without raising your head, you want to just be able to see your tippy toes just peeking out above the kneecaps. All right, so from here, think about pulling the leg into the arms and then the arms pushing the leg away. We're going to keep the upper body, the left leg still, and we're going to start to extend the right leg out and in, out and in. Now, the whole time, you want to feel that same stillness through the center. If you start to move around, shoot the leg up a little bit higher, or you could always just stop a few inches out, pull back in. It all just depends on where you're at in your fitness journey. If you're postpartum, obviously take this slow. And then you could think about pushing your arms into your legs, elbows staying lifted, and you feel a little bit of your triceps start to kick in too. We've got 3, even without a crunch. This one gets shaky. 2. Last one. And then we'll switch sides. If you need a second, take a second. Otherwise, right back into it. Both hands go on that right knee. Find that pull, push right above that hip. And now that left leg starts to extend out and in, out and in. Same thing, you want stillness through the center of the body. If this side, for whatever reason, isn't the stronger side, then you can always shoot the leg up a little bit higher again, or stop the leg a little bit sooner. Personally, I love the exhale out because that's where I feel the most work happening on this one. You can always pause, take breaks, thinking about the upper body staying relaxed. Unless you want that little tricep focus, then keep those elbows lifted and push into that leg regardless. Last 4, we're going to stretch in 3, 2, last one. And come in, feet down, let it go. Nice little windshield wiper, feels good here. Release that low back. And then we're gonna come up into a tabletop position. So just rock and roll up. All right, so for this next one, we are gonna be on the wrists. If you have any wrist issues, you could either prop them. So you could take like your mat, roll it up, fingertips lower than the wrist. You could go on the fists as another option. Okay, so hands are underneath the shoulders. You wanna spread those fingertips nice and wide. The knees are underneath the hips. So this is where if you have a mirror, it's nice to just check your alignment. Toes are gonna tuck under, and then we're just gonna start by lifting the knees. So inhale to prepare, and then exhale. Knees lift just an inch or two off the mat, belly button scoops in. We'll hold for 3, 2, 1, release back down. So push yourself up, hold. So you should feel like you're pushing the mat away. Suction cups on the fingertips, low belly scoops in, back down. So you can always do a little pause at the top, go right back down, or as you start to progress, we can start to make that hold a little bit longer. At the top, just checking in on the shoulders. If you feel yourself starting to round in this one, think about the palms of the hands pushing the mat away, and then those shoulder blades drawing down and back. We're gonna do 4 more. Going anywhere from 5, 15, 30 seconds each one. And just keep breathing, never holding that breath. Last 2. Soft little bend in the elbows, we don't want to lock out. Last one, let's see if we can hold this one a little bit longer to finish. Keep breathing, thinking about a little bitty tuck in that tailbone. Your back is flat, 10 more seconds, you've got it. Just keep breathing, neck is long. Last 3, 2, and 1. Knees down, just push it back really quick. Take a little child's pose. You can always roll the wrists. After you roll out those wrists, we'll push up out of that child's pose, and then we're gonna lay down on our right side. So we'll come all the way down onto our right side. You can prop your head up on your arm like it's a little pillow. And then from here, we're gonna pull that bottom leg in. You could start with the legs stacked if that feels good. Bottom leg's gonna pull in, knee in line with the hip, and then you want your shoulders to be stacked. So shoulders are stacked, hips are stacked, and then we're gonna lift up that top leg, and then from here we're gonna extend it out long. So leg just reaches out. Think about finding length from the rib cage out to the tip of the toe. Hand to hip, feel like you're lifting or actually lift away from that mat to engage those obliques. And then we're just gonna start a little sweep forward and back. So we're going for as little movement as possible in those hips and the rest of the body. So if I couldn't see your leg, I wouldn't know there's anything happening right now, is the goal. A little movement is normal. And then if you want, you could start to point your toe forward and flex your foot back. Pointing, engaging more through the front of the leg, flexing, engaging the back of the leg, thinking about squeezing your glute on the way back. And you could always lift the top arm up. You can also set the hand down for a little more stability. If you do feel yourself start to rock, just make it a little bit smaller. 2 more. And then we're gonna sweep it back and pause. So last time, going forward, sweep it back and hold. You could keep that foot flexed if that feels good. Now we're gonna start to bend the knee in. If it's helpful, you could take your hand into your hip crease because we wanna stop the knee about in line with the hip. So you're pulling in, knee stops in line with the hip, and then you're pushing back out. Think about a soft little bend in your knee on the way out. As you come in, we want to keep that knee lifted. It's going to want to drop. Imagine you have a band on your leg. You're pushing up on that band, staying engaged to the back of the leg, the outer thigh, and the inner thigh on this one. And then imagine you're starting to kick something super heavy on the way out. So push through the heel, pull your big toe towards your shin to really engage the glute. Last 4. And again, you could always lift your arm for a challenge or set your hand down on the mat for a little more support. Find what feels good. And then just keep breathing. Last two. Last one. We'll come all the way in and just set it down. You can tap that booty out, and then we're gonna roll on to our back. So rolling onto our back, and then those hands could just set down by the sides. Hands could always go to the belly just to check in. We want to find a neutral spine again. So little tiny tuck of the tailbone, back is flat, and then we're going to keep the back flat as we start to move. You want your heels to be a few inches forward of the glutes. Heels heavy, toes could be a little light. And then keeping your back flat, we're just going to push up and down. So you could always start small, just going like a fist up off the mat and back down. You're still going to get work either way. As you start to feel more stable, your hips can start to go a little bit higher. And if you need it, your hands are there to help support you. So push into your palms, flex into the triceps, the backs of the arms as your hips go up and down. And then thinking about your neck and your shoulders, just relaxing here. And then without lifting your head, just keep an eye on your knees, your legs. We don't want movement out or in of the knees. If you notice movement starting to happen, you could always put a yoga block, a ball, a pillow, or something in between the knees just to give you a little bit of feedback and to keep you honest. If this is feeling good, maybe arms start to lift up. The less contact we have with the mat, the more the core is going to work. We've got 3 more. And then just keep breathing. If you like breath focus, you could always exhale up. It's where the majority of the work's happening. Last one up and hold. Push the hips as high as you can, hold it up. Knees are nice and still. Maybe wiggle your toes, more weight in the heels, more work in the hamstring and the glutes. Hands could always come back down to help you hold. Final 10 seconds here. Last 3, 2, and 1. And coming down. Maybe take a little knee hug, little rock side to side, and then we'll rock and roll up. And then we're gonna go to the second side of our leg sweeps. I'm gonna flip around so that you can see better, but you could also do this facing the other direction, whatever's comfortable. So we'll start by finding that comfortable spot for our head, pillowing our arm. Knees pull forward, knees stack, and then you want your knees to be in line with your hips. Lift up that bottom waist as much as you can, and then lift the top leg up. We extend the top leg out. And then you want that long line again from shoulder down to toe, maybe hand to hip to give feedback. And then we're gonna start to sweep forward and back. So as little movement as possible in the hips. If you have a mirror, you could always watch your hips in the mirror. Another option, if hand to hip isn't feeling great, you could go hand behind hip, or hand in front of belly. Either way, you're gonna feel yourself if you start to rock forward and backwards on this one. And then if you did it on the other side, we'll start to point the toe forward and then flex the foot back. Again, as you flex, squeeze your booty. It's like you're connecting that space between hamstring and glute. And remember, core is still working. So as much as you can, think about that bottom waistband pulling up and away from the mat. Doesn't actually have to lift, but you want to stay engaged. Last 4, and each side has a different range of motion. Right side tends to be tighter, so you might not sweep as far forward. That's okay. 2, and last one. We'll sweep it back and pause. So holding that leg back, now we start to bend in, maybe fingers come to that hip, stop knee about in line with that hip, and kick it back out. Bend it in, and kick it out. If that's feeling good, hand can move around, and you can always set that hand down for more support. And then let's check in on form again. So as you're coming in, that knee staying lifted in line with the hip. You can tell if your knees get closer together on the way in. Imagine you're dusting off a shelf with your inner thigh, or you're pushing up on a booty band. And then you're kicking out against something really heavy. If you've ever done that heavy leg press in the gym where you're pushing that weight away from you, you want to think about trying to do that now. Or like you're trying to kick a dresser or something. Last 4. Get nice and shaky. Last 3. Legs are very heavy, so even without resistance, we still get a lot of work with just body weight. Last one. Go all the way out. Come back in. And then let it go. Maybe a little tap out. And then from here, we're going to finish in a plank. So 2 different ways you could plank. First way, especially if you're just getting back into working out or you're just starting working out, is to go from the knees and the forearms. So forearms go down, knees go back at a diagonal line from those hips, and you're in a long line from the crown of the head all the way back down to those knees. So you could plank from the forearms here or plank from the hands. If that's feeling good, then you could always tuck your toes under and push up into a full plank. In that full plank, you want to drive your heels back. And then either way, knees or toes, neck is long, elbows and shoulders are stacked, palms of the hands push into the mat. Maybe spread those fingertips wide. Imagine you have little suction cups on them. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Drop the knees for a quick second, push back. And then we're going to do that one more time. And then we're all done. All right, so forearms down from the knees or from the toes, we push up into that plank. This is how we finish, so make it count. If you start on the toes and need to drop to the knees, that's totally okay. Form over progression. Shoulders relaxed, chin lifted up and off that chest. Flex those heels back, scoop that belly button in. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Knees down, arms long, and just let that head fall to the mat. And then from here, just push up, and let's take a couple cat-cows. So going into extension, rounding that low back, and then pushing it up. Cat-cows, great anytime, but especially pre and postpartum pregnancy. I say that weird. Prenatal, postnatal. 3 more. And just keep breathing through it. And last one. And let it go. Great job today. See you next time for another beginner Pilates workout. Have a great day.